Yo, what's up? Today we have ourselves something just a little bit different. We have ourselves a 40-inch monitor. This 40-inch monitor is actually quite insane, and the wonderful people at Melnick sent it to me to do a review. Now, the first thing I'm gonna say is you probably don't need this monitor, but it's kind of weird and mostly very peculiar to think about using a super wide 21:9 aspect ratio 40-inch monitor with a console, a video game console. So today we're gonna put it through the test, plug in the Xbox Series S, we're gonna boot up a couple games and show you the different modes you could do with this kind of thing, and also show you why a 40-inch widescreen monitor is just way too big and way too wide for your console gaming needs. I feel like this just isn't helping. But before we get too far into it, I do want to reiterate, this is a 1440p monitor. It's not a 4K monitor. And so when you plug this into a computer, you end up getting a 1440p sized monitor to deal with. Yes, there is some more real estate on the sides. For myself, I have an actual 4K monitor. It's a 27-inch 4K monitor. It works great. It's awesome. And when I plug in this, I feel like I actually get less space because the clarity and the size of the actual resolution is smaller, even though the display is larger. As someone who uses my monitor for more than just playing video games, it's just not practical. This specifically, I would say, would lend itself to a PC gamer, maybe, or a multiple monitor setup, which it's way too big. So booting on the console we're gonna choose today, which is the Xbox Series S because of ease of use, we see first off that we're only using part of the monitor itself. And that's because this is set to auto. There are multiple inputs and we'll change them and I'll show you what that looks like. Right here, you just go to home and then you go into these settings and you go down to picture settings and then you go all the way down to the aspect ratio. Now, selecting widescreen, it stretches everything out and you'll see we got a little bit of distortion because this is set and pulled. So we have fat cow Kestis, and for a single player game like this is not really what I'd want to see. It just doesn't look good. Maybe for a first person shooter, and we'll get into that in just a moment here, maybe for a first person shooter it might look better, but if we stretch the image itself, I can't handle it. So we'll go back, we'll switch, and there's a few other options as I said. So we can get into picture settings, we'll go all the way down to the aspect ratio. Now this does have HDR, but I've noticed with some of these monitors, the HDR is just way too artificial almost, so I usually just keep it off. So we'll go down to 4:3, which actually scrunches it. This might be better for retro titles, and we can see Cal is actually scrunched now because it's a 4:3. Now it's cool that it can use certain parts of the monitor itself. So this is what you would be used to if you were using like a TV back in the day. So nice and scrunched. And then the last aspect ratio we have, good old 1:1. And with 1:1, it takes everything and it makes it even smaller. And now we are using just part of the display, the center part of the display. And well, I mean, it looks good. It doesn't look bad, but I don't know why anyone would want to use the 1:1 kind of picture. I mean, it does look pretty good. So let's switch over again to a shooting game. We have Halo Infinite. We'll get in there and we'll check out what this looks like. And we'll go back to the actual gaming setup that I would choose, which is going to be the automatic, and it will just take what is automatically coming out of the Xbox Series S itself. So we'll go down to auto, and we have ourselves the auto image. And now let's run some Halo Infinite. Now, when it comes to a screen of this size, it takes up a lot of space. And when you're really considering buying something that is this ginormous, it sure as heck better come with some features. And this does have a few features that I do appreciate. One, it has a somewhat okay speaker system. It's not good by any means. You would honestly want to still use external speakers, but if you need to get by in a pinch and you're mostly a headphone player, that's pretty nice. I also like that you have the ability to turn off certain sections of the display. But again, the biggest problem that we're dealing with is the 1440p, and if you're someone who doesn't have the biggest setup, that's just not enough real estate when you're starting to use this for a multitasking or a productivity kind of setup. And that is the biggest thing that I see as a problem. Now, it is a $600 monitor, which I'm looking at monitors this size with this kind of spec for 144 Hertz, HDR, even though it's HDR 400, it's not the full crazy spectrum that you would get. Still, it has some potential. And for PC gamers who are looking for, maybe racing simulators, which I'm gonna be letting my buddy try this. He has a, racing simulator, or, flight simulators or stuff like that. You have an actual cool setup with this widescreen, but for someone like myself who plays adventure games, first-person shooters, well, I'm gonna end up not using the full display. And again, I play on console. So we're playing a little capture the flag here. This is the standard, what you would be used to seeing on a normal display, and it doesn't look terrible. And now I am used to this aspect ratio. Oh gosh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Nope, maybe not. Yep, I died. So this is what you would see normally. Now, the big thing you guys are wondering is, how does this look when we stretch it out? Is it advantageous? Do we feel like this is actually going to help our gameplay? Do we see more? Now, what we can honestly do if we go widescreen. All right, we've widened it out now, and it's honestly a little bit disorienting. I can see where this could potentially give people motion sickness. I know for myself, I don't often feel that at all when I play video games, or just in general. I'm not someone who gets motion sickness, but this is extremely wide, and there is a little distortion, but you end up seeing less and less of it because you're not looking to the sides to see that distortion. It's all up in front of you. So having 144 Hertz to actually feel this at 120 frames per second, this feels pretty cool. It's really cool, actually. And the experience is interesting. I don't know if I'd want to play it this way all the time, but this is what gaming on a 40-inch, 144 Hertz, 1440p monitor looks like. And it's not awful. It's not awful. Now, $600 for this to be the single thing you use it for, I mean, that is something that you're gonna have to decide for yourself. But I think, honestly, it's a really interesting proposal. And it being not the most expensive, actually this is an affordable entry-level 40-inch, 144 Hertz, 1440p monitor. It's pretty heavy. It rotates side to side, which is really nice. It has a nice solid base. But again, as a console gamer myself, someone who plays video games on console primarily, I can't see where this is honestly going to make its way into my gaming setup. It is large, it is huge, and I do not play first-person shooters primarily, third-person shooters, or any of that, where that extra field of view is gonna genuinely change my gaming experience. But there are people that do play on these super wide displays, and I'm wondering, are you one of those types of people? Let me know in the comments below. Is this something that's actually interesting for you? Because for me, it's novelty at best, and I'm excited to allow some of my friends who play simulation games to try it out and have fun with it. So that is the 40-inch Anakin 1440p 144 Hertz monitor that I think is interesting, but I'm not telling you to go out and buy it. All right, guys, happy gaming.